Hi viewers and welcome to the channel, and this is video 3 of 4 of creating a logo from a JPEG, vectorizing it and get it into FreeCAD. Video 2 dealt with taking the vector, importing it into FreeCAD, dealing with issues, dealing with the logo in the sketcher and moving that in there and reducing the clutter. Also dealt with extrusion and pad if you're using the part design, extrusion if you're using the part. In this video we're looking at refining that logo to allow something like this, so that we can chamfer and fillet the object, and what problems we have with the current SVG. And I'm going to show you a technique for allowing you to create the logo and refine it down so something you can work with that's a lot smoother. So I hope you're still with me, and let's get to it. If you like this video, please hit a like and also subscribe to the channel. I also have a Ko-Fi site where you can actually donate my contributions to the community, and that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0. At this point you've got your logo. Now you may want to do some modifications on there, so you may want to chamfer some of the edges or fillet some of the edges. You are very limited at this point in what you can do, because what's actually happened, FreeCAD's pulled in the b-splines, and as we saw before, we had the b-spline combs that were being displayed in our sketch. So all these, now doing a chamfer and a fillet on a complex b-spline like what's in here with all these combs is not going to work. You can obviously do other functions on here and other operations to boolean parts into this or remove parts from this, but doing stuff like chamfers and fillets on here are going to cause you a bit of an issue. But there is a way around that. Let me show you the issues that this can cause. So I'm going to select this face and I'm going to put a chamfer on there, and I can select face and just select that face there, and that's selected the edges around that face that I want to put a chamfer on. Already you can see this isn't working, there's nothing being updated in the image, and when I hit OK that will disappear, it's gone into error. And that's because you can see there's a number of edges on here, and when you look at this from side on, you can see that there is a number of faces. Now Inkscape has no idea about the b-spline system in FreeCAD, or that it should create one of these as a single b-spline, and that's where the problem manifests from that. Because we've got this sketch here, what we can do is use that almost as a trace, but we can use the points as constraints and make a single line between those. I'm going to show you how to do that now. So I'm going to get rid of this extrude and show you that sketch. So I'll just delete that extrude, press the space bar on the sketch to bring this back. Now I'm going to jump into the sketcher. I'm looking at this and you can see all these points here. What we're going to do is pick out the corner points and do a sketch against that. And because we're using the corner points, our sketching is going to be a lot quicker because we're going to constrain to those points with our sketch. So what I do, I'll come out there, we're going to do a new sketch. So let's jump into our sketcher. We're going to do a new sketch, and it's going to be on the XY plane, which is fine. So this is our sketch now. Now we want to use the import geometry or create an edge linked to external geometry. We'll go out to the sketch, geometries, external geometry. That will change our pointer to the select from external geometry. And what I want to do is just come in here and import these points that are the corners. So that's 2 points there. I want these 3 points, this corner here, this corner here, and this one here. So now we've got those points that have come in, we can trace against those. So I'm going to do one part firstly, this part here, or this path. So we got those in, and now I can use my polygon and b-spline tool. So create a b-spline and the polygon. And what I'm going to do is, because my auto constraint's on, that makes it easy to quickly sketch between these individual points and constrain to those points, like so. And I'm going to do each of these points, and you may think that, why am I going over this point here? I'm just going to trim that out. Or I can come in, hit escape, and just click on that and delete it. But if I didn't want to do that, I can use the trim tool to do this. So I'm going to show you how to trim tool, because you may come across parts of the sketch that you will need to use that trim. So this one I'm going to use the b-spline. Click on b-spline, click on that point, it will also constrain to that point. Put a random point for the gut that we can move the b-spline with. And click here, I'm going to hit escape. That b-spline's kicked in, hit escape again, and just bring that over like so. And do the same for this one. Click on that one, click in the middle, click on there, hit escape again, and just bring that over. Remember, we can hide the combs. Going out to sketch b-spline, and come down to the curvature combs, get rid of those. They're gone now. And I want a line in here. So just use a normal line for that. Don't need a polyline, so connect those two together like so. And I'm just going to use a trim against that part there. We can delete it, but just trim that out. Watch when you trim though, because this might happen here. You might get a line here which you just need to delete. Just look to see what's highlighting. Let's come over to the other side. So when I hover over here, you see that it turns yellow. Nothing else is turning yellow. If I had this part and this part turning yellow, then I would need to trim that properly rather than delete it. Let's delete that. That looks about right, so let's just modify these slightly. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to go for that. Click close, and then we can use the part or part design. I'm just going to extrude that out and OK that. That's all extruded down, and you can see we've got a much cleaner extrude. So we've got 2 faces rather than the 8 or 9 faces that used to be before. So before, if I jump to that sketch there and then extrude on that and hide the other extrude, wrong one, let's hide the other extrude, there we go. So you can see how many faces are on there. So we've got 1, 2, 3 faces along there, and with this one we've just got 1. Let's zoom into this, and that means that will allow you, because it's made it more simple, it'd be much easier to chamfer or fillet this. So if I come up to the fillet tool or the chamfer tool and select the face, select this, and bring these up, hit OK. There we go. So we've got the chamfer on there. Took that absolutely fine. So that's what you need to do with those. So I'm going to just undo that extrude. And carry on with the rest. Once you've finished, then you can just delete the old sketch. So I'm going to show you how to sketch the rest of it, but I'm going to give you a few tips and a few shortcuts in here, and some of them are obvious, but when you go and try them, if you don't do them in a specific way, you'll end up getting errors and getting frustrated with what you're doing. So the first thing is to look at your shape and have a look for anything that's basically a duplicate or a mirror image. So we've got this part here and this part here that are the same, and these two, it's just rotated. So this one's been rotated here. So if we're looking at this, what I would do is take a copy of this and rotate it. Now we do this via the draft workbench. We could do it via the sketch. So we could come in here and copy this sketch and try to rotate it. But the minute we try to copy that, so we go sketch tools, copy, and just move it somewhere, and we try to rotate this, well, we haven't got any constraints on it. So we would need to build in constraints into this to do that. What we can do is, let me just get rid of that so we can see what we're doing. What we can do is create a clone of this and move it around to that position there. Now the reason why you would create a clone is if we go into the draft workbench, so I'm going to come out of this, we would use the draft workbench to do this. So we're in the draft workbench now, and I'm going to make a copy of this by rotating it. So I'm going to click on the sketch. Now you may hit some issues here. I'll show you how to get around them. Use the rotate tool. Make sure copy is selected, and we want the point of where it's going to rotate from, so that point there, and I'm just going to select the bottom point there. That gives me a bit of a handle when I rotate this, so you get this line. So I want to rotate this around to about there. If I so desire, I can actually type in right now, so don't come over and try to highlight this because it's already highlighted. Just type in your keyboard. So I'm going to put 90 and then hit enter, and that's created a copy of that. You can see sketch 2 copy. Now if that doesn't create a copy, what you would do is use a clone on this, and I'll show you that in a moment, but you still might get some issues. So I created a copy, and then I can use the move tool, and what I'll do is I'll just select one of these points and I can move it to wherever I want. So in matter of fact, I'm going to bring my model back in, look at the sketch, bring that back, and I'm going to try and match that onto there. So the blue, I'm looking to match it on there. I can just hide the other sketches if I so desire. There we go. Let's bring that in there. But I'm seeing straight away that this one differs slightly to this one. That seems to be larger, so this may not work. And you can see that something's happened. There we go. Let's bring those two back and hide that sketch. So we've actually made a copy of that, but as you saw, these are actually different. Now what sometimes happens when you do this is this will snap back after the rotate and the move, and I was actually expecting that to happen. Sometimes FreeCAD won't allow you to make a copy of these, and if that actually happens, what you've got to do is use a clone. So let's get rid of that one, and what we do is click on the sketch 001 and use the sheep tool or the clone tool, and you can go up to the modification and clone, and that creates a clone of that sketch, and then we can rotate that to wherever we want, and we don't have to worry about using the copy because we're just doing it on there, and we can move that as well to wherever we want. And what that means is that anything on this sketch, if that changes at all, so for instance, let's just place a square on here, close that, you get a square on this side as well. But as you found out, that these two differ. So I've just Control Z that square so it's not there anymore. These two do differ. left hand side and the right hand side of this sketch does differ, so I'm going to have to sketch this out. They look the same there, but now I can see they are actually different. So I'm going to sketch that. I'm going to use the same method, jump over to the sketcher, and I'm going to come in and use the import an edge. So let's go into the sketch first and use the create an edge link to external geometry, and we're just going to import all these points, and we're going to do our sketching on those points just by doing constraints against them. So I'm going to do that now. So that's the points added. Coming to think about it, I could take a copy of this and do what I was doing with a normal sketch and modify this b-spline to fit, but I'm just going to keep on with the tracing. So I'm going to trace those lines in now, and I'm going to use the polyline and the b-spline to do this. So I'm going to quickly do that now. And at this point here, I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to jump down to this point and carry on. So let's escape once just to get the tool back. So there, escape, and then I can move on to the other parts. So that saves time there. So that's all the polylines done. I'm going to come down and finish with the b-spline in here. So this one again is just click somewhere in the middle and click that point there. Making a hit escape, and we get that line in there. I'm just going to do the other side. Hit escape, and that line's in there, and now I can adjust these two. So hit escape again to get the normal pointer back, and we'll adjust that point there and match it to the background, and we'll do the same here. And it looks like I've missed a line in here. Should hit that with the polyline there. So I'm just going to use a normal line and just connect those up. And that auto constraint is kicked in because we've got the auto constraints on. So that should be about it. That's all the sketching is done. I'm just going to save that now, and we're going to close the sketch. Now I'm just going to hide the underlying sketch. Now I'm just going to take a look to make sure I haven't missed anything, whether we've got any open parts in here, open paths, and we're looking all good there, so I can go ahead with the extrude on this one. So the new sketch, we've extrude that up, so we'll go over to the part, hit extrude, okay that, and that's all fine. And you can see how much cleaner that is compared to the other one. So it's a lot cleaner. There's only one face this side, one face on the end, and we've kept the faces to a minimum there. And we can see that, so if I hide that, and here's the original sketch, extrude that out, okay, on that, you can see the number of faces on there. So you can see how those two differ, so they're side by side. There's our original extrude, and there's our one that we just sketched. Now there's other methods that you can use to see if you can reduce down these faces or these lines on there, and you can use the, if I click on the extrude and go to the part, and we want to create a copy and refine shape, then that will refine that shape, and sometimes it will collapse some of these lines, but it looks like it hasn't there, so that hasn't worked. get rid of that and show the original extrude. So what we're going to do is get rid of the one that we don't want, like so. There we go. Don't need that sketch there either, so let's get rid of that. And just hide that sketch in there. So that's all good. So let's add the fillet or the chamfer on here. So we can do it by clicking the extrude and then hitting the fillet or the chamfer. You see a selected shape is selected as extrude. If there's no selection there, just drop this down and hit extrude on there, or whatever body you want. Now we need to select the faces, so click select faces, and I'm going to select this face, and the edges turn green, this face, and this face. So they're all selected now, and we're going to put a chamfer radius on there, something like 2.3 millimeters. Fortunately, there's no live refresh there. And let's hit OK and see what happens. And you can see those edges have chamfered nicely now. And if we change the view, draw style to shaded, you can see what we've got. So we've got a nice rounded edge on those, on all sides. So in our last video, video 4, we're going to break this up into 4 individual parts, add the colours from the original, and also add a metal texture to there. And I'm going to go through that in the next video, which is on my channel now. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe to my site. And also I have a Ko-Fi site where you can actually donate a few pence or a few pounds, dollars, or whatever your currency is. And that's at ko-fi.com/MANG0, and there you'll be able to help me fund my site, and all the money that I actually get from any funds will actually get pushed back into the channel. Thanks a lot for watching and subscribing. I'll see you next time.